Another powerful technique is to explore the concepts of opinions. Where do they come from? And do we even need them? As I keep saying, do you want to be happy or do you want to be right? And really, stress and anxiety, they're the difference between what your mind wants to happen and what is actually happening out in the real world. Therefore, if we have fewer opinions, okay, what is happening out there is just what's happening out there, okay? And we can accept it, we can avoid it, or we can respond to it. And as you do this, you'll see that your ego probably has an opinion about everybody and everything. But these don't have to be your opinions. You as the observer or the higher self can just watch, okay, and refrain from engaging with those opinions. Many of these opinions are the programs that I keep talking about installed during your childhood and your schooling. I've personally found a good practice is that during conversations is to try not to express any opinions. So as a friend says, what about that government plan? And you might say, oh, I've not heard that yet. Or I need to give that some consideration. Can you see how you're taking a more neutral stance, which gives you the space to observe how needy your ego is as it tries to express its opinions, it tries to show the other person what you knows, it tries to impress them, or it tries to tell them Me Too stories. Yeah, I did that, I understand that, okay. This gap is really important to just watch it happening. And you'll see they're having a field day down there. And with this separation comes a lot of change. I think it's what great gurus and leaders do. I think I've said this before. If you say to the Dalai Lama, my parents don't understand me, my anxiety is going through the roof and I'm really fearful of the pandemic, he might say, oh, poor you. Yeah, I know, it's hard. I remember having anxiety when I was younger. Have you considered what you might do about it? He stays out of giving an opinion. He accepts you where you are, but he still listens and creates a space where you feel heard. Yeah? You unknowingly would be in their non-verbal higher energy field of love and acceptance. And you'd briefly have access to higher states of consciousness which may allow you to see new perspectives on your own problem. Typically it's called the grace of the guru. I found that learning to observe but not believe my ego's opinions was a massive step in my growth. And I'm continuously reminding myself that mostly I don't need any opinions. It's still a work in progress, but it's a fascinating one, okay? Plus, if you really explore your opinions deeply, so many of the ego's opinions are flawed. They're not even based in truths. I mean, how would my ego know how to run a country? How would it know how to fix an illness? How would it know what's the right thing for another person to do? It's really funny when you really begin to detach from your opinions and just look on them and see them as ego mind stories or old installed programs. It's actually quite funny and very interesting. Another perspective that helped me enormously was that pain is one thing, but suffering is an option. Suppose you have pain in your body, or an illness, loss, or a disability. The ego may turn it into a drama or a story of unfairness and poor me. Okay? And I believe it can be very useful to reconceptualize this as the ego trying to get attention and to feed off of your negative emotions or the sympathy that you may get from other people. I think it's useful to look at the ego from a completely different perspective. Okay, we know plants get energy from light via photosynthesis, and we know our bodies get energy from transforming the food that we eat. Well, our mind, ego, or our thoughts, they are an energy field. They're not a biological form, but they still require energy to fuel themselves, which they often obtain from generating emotional fear within our bodies. So though we may have pain, we choose to stop suffering, to lovingly starve our parasitic animal ego from accessing its emotional fuel gained from our suffering, complaining, drama, poor me, it's not fair, and other anxiety and fear-based emotions. I hope I am explaining this clearly enough. I mean, you may need to listen to those last few sentences a couple of times, because they're critical to you finding more calmness. You must lovingly starve your ego, the parasitic part that you used to identify with as you. And as you recognize that suffering is an option, you avoid talking about it. You stop placing your attention on it, and you move to a deeper level of acceptance of just what is. And then you watch as the ego kicks and screams like the little parasite that it is, looking to pull you back into victimhood so it can feed off of your emotions. It's the same with sentimentality. The ego attaches a whole load of stories and pain to a person, item, or an event, okay? And then it milks it for as much negative emotion as it possibly can, through comments like, oh, I can't believe it happened to me, or my family always gets all the bad luck, or that ring was the only connection back to my grandmother, or she loves my sister more than she loves me. Now, this is a big topic, okay? Know that pain will always happen, but suffering is an option. And adopting this attitude is a powerful path to rise above anxiety and fear. And I will certainly be making a more detailed video about this later on in the course.